Hello there, YouTube. It's your boy B3, back with another kicking, you guessed it, graphic novel review. Today we are looking at the final graphic novel for the Nick Spencer Amazing Spider-Man run. Yeah. It is The Amazing Spider-Man by Nick Spencer. Volume 15, What Cost Victory. Yes, this is from the 2018 to 2022 Amazing Spider-Man run. There's a lot I like about this book, but there are some things I don't like about this book. Before we get into it, let me read you the back of it, okay? Nick Spencer's Spider-Man saga reaches new heights. The sinister war between Dr. Octopus and the Vulture is about to turn Spider-Man's life upside down, and I will eventually review Sinister War, I promise. And the fact that King's Ransom and Chameleon Conspiracy already did that twice over might give you an idea of just how hard this latest crisis is going to be for the Wallcrawler. But as two of the deadliest teams of villains ever to exist go to all-out war with both Spidey and each other, what is Kindred's role in the chaos? And what is his horrific endgame? There's simply no way of describing how intense and impossible this situation is for Peter Parker. Collecting Amazing Spider-Man 2018, numbers 70 through 74 by Nick Spencer, Christos Gage, Federico Vincentini, Federico Sabatini, Zay Carlos, Marcelo Ferreira, Carlos Gomez, Mark Bagley, Dio Neves, Ivan Filio, Victor Olzbaum, Alex Sinclair, Andrew Crossley, and Edgar Delgado. I'm so sorry. Rated T14 from Marvel Comics. Anyway. Let's finally, after years of reviewing, finish the Nick Spencer Spider-Man run. Okay? We see Doc Connors hurt in his lab. By the Sinister Six. They've come for him. You know, they want the Lizard, and they get the Lizard. And Mary Jane is, back after working for Mysterio, and Carly is locked up with Harry Osborn, which is odd because Kindred is supposed to be Harry Osborn, but she found an extra body at the morgue that was, you guessed it, Harry Osborn, with all his cornrows still on his corpse for some reason. Yeah. So that happened. So, is Kindred actually Harry Osborn at this point? You have all these different, Sinister Six teams. Like the Syndicate and the Superior Foes, like a more traditional Sinister Six and blah, blah, blah. All kind of going for Spider-Man and each other. It's screwing him up. We'll get to that when we review Sinister War. We'll talk about that more. Mysterio seems to be protecting Mary Jane. I kind of like the idea of reforming Mysterio, but it's not really gonna fully happen, I feel like, unfortunately. But we do have a reformed Norman Osborn, reformed by, the magic or whatever of Sin Eater's gun. Blam. Which gets a little hazy. Because Sin Eater was supposed to be Harry Osborn returned from hell with all these demonic powers, taking Peter Parker for a bender. And as this book goes on, you kind of learn that Kindred is much more sci-fi than fantasy, if you get my drift. Kindred is and isn't Harry Osborn. So when Harry Osborn was the Goblin, he made this big master plan, and there's an AI of himself pulling the strings of Kindred. But he's trying to torture Peter, but also Norman. And so one thing he does to kind of torture both of them is make some clones. with both Norman Osborn and Gwen Stacy's DNA. So there's a really infamous Spider-Man story where we find out that Norman Osborn had sex with Gwen Stacy. She somehow had babies, twins, without anyone knowing. And it's kind of implied it's not consensual and all this stuff. It's really icky. No one wants to think of... It's just disgusting. And then there are these like two twins, one boy, one girl, that fight Spider-Man, and it's a dumb, awful story. Turns out Harry made these people to torture Peter and Norman, and he like put fake memories in Norman's head of having sex with Gwen, which is gross. Why would you do that to your dad, you little freak? A lot of weird stuff is happening. Anyhow, we kind of find out that Harry put that into motion, so they'd both think that happened, even though it didn't. The entire Nick Spencer run has been dedicated to retconning one story. Doesn't that seem stupid? This whole time, Kindred's been doing all this crazy stuff, a super cool villain for the whole run. I loved Kindred. And then this book is like, Kindred's not actually Norman Osborn. All those really interesting character motivations that Kindred had, oh, they're not actually real. They're AI programmed and blah, blah, blah. And Kindred's not actually Harry. It's these two twins masquerading as Kindred. So, all this cool stuff about Kindred that you loved up to this, it didn't happen. But hey, at least the story that readers didn't like years ago actually didn't happen now. What? People have mostly forgotten about that story anyway. Nobody talks about it outside of like YouTubers trying to get shock views and comic book sites that make listicles of worst Spider-Man stories. Those are like the only places anyone ever even mentions that story. Nobody cared. They were like, that's a bad story, let's move on. Most fans had just written it off and didn't even think about it. And you devoted an entire run to just making us know that Norman Osborn didn't fuck Gwen Stacy. What the hell? Was that worth it? Was this not very good and kind of... It's just not satisfying. Was this not satisfying Kindred reveal worth it? Was making this reveal unsatisfying just to undo an old story that people didn't like worth it? I don't feel like it was. There was a lot of good stuff in here. Like finding out that Norman Osborn sold Harry's soul to Mephisto years and years and years ago when he was a child, so that he could maintain his power. Like he did a horrible evil thing, and that was Norman that did it. No goblin saw him or anything. That was just Norman being a bad, evil man. Right? And that's a good reveal. And like, a lot of the art is really good. And, you know, when Sarah and Gabriel, the twins, are like revealed to be behind the Mask of Kindred, there was part of me before the Harry reveal, many volumes back, that kind of thought Kindred would be a woman. Because a lot of the time when you have a character in comics or something with a very androgynous build, and they're completely covered, a lot of the time the reveal is just that it's a woman. Oh, mysterious new villain with an androgynous build, that's probably a woman. Because writers aren't creative and they still think someone being a woman is a huge twist. But it turns out these like Gwen Norman hybrid clones are not stable, so they die relatively quickly, much like Nick Spencer's run died here. And yeah, it explains a lot, but then there's some stuff that's just like, wait, so if this is all actually an AI and clones, what's with all the magic stuff that happened? Because there was a bunch of magic stuff that happened. And I think they kind of try to explain it away with being like, oh, Mephisto's involved too. Because, he made that deal with Norman, and he also wants to, like, torture Peter and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay. So Doctor Strange, who helped out in previous volumes, goes to Mephisto and, like, makes a wager with him to get Harry Osborn's soul back, but Doctor Strange now also sees that Mephisto has touched Peter Parker's soul, so he's kind of suspecting that Peter has made a deal with Mephisto, which is another one of the most infamous Spider-Man stories, Brand New Day by Dan Slott, where Peter and Mary Jane sell their marriage to the devil and prevent the birth of their daughter to save the life of Aunt May. And it's like, Aunt May's fucking like 90 at this point. Like, dude, maybe just learn to accept that death exists, Peter. She's an elderly woman and you're going to give up your marriage for her? Like, and it wasn't just like get a divorce. It was like history rewritten. They don't remember anything. Not grand. Not grand. So Doctor Strange is able to kind of get away with some stuff from Mephisto, but it seems like Nick Spencer was trying to set up undoing Brand New Day as well or something. But through this whole run, Peter and MJ like are together. And Mephisto doesn't want them to be together because they sold their relationship to him. But is Mephisto really that invested in breaking them up? I mean, isn't that Paul's job in the next run? Well, maybe not the next run, because it becomes Spider-Man Beyond, and then it's the infamous Zeb Wells stuff, which I've started, but am not in a rush to finish. My cat is chewing on my hand. Why are you chewing on my hand, Kibby? Anyway, there's a big battle. Norman joins in, and all this stuff. A lot of craziness. Harry comes back and gets killed. He gets free of his prison and he gets killed. But this Harry is a clone. There's a bunch of clone stuff in this volume. Whenever they bring in clones, it makes the story worse. Except for the clone conspiracy by Dan Slott, the kind of Spider-Man event story. I actually really like that one. That one's really good. But, God, when are Spider-Man writers just gonna stop with the clone stuff? Don't get me wrong, I like Kane. I love Kane Scarlet Spider, actually, but, like, come on, people. You gotta give clone stuff a rest, man. You gotta give clone stuff a rest. Anyway, of course, they are eventually able to defeat Kindred and the Harry AI, and they realize that Harry, the real Harry, quote-unquote, debatable, has been dead, or at least Harry's soul has been in hell, like, this whole time. And we kind of see, eventually, that it's not just about Peter and MJ. Mephisto has seen the future. He knows Spider-Man's destiny. In the future, there will be a time when Mephisto has beaten everybody. He has taken over the Earth. You see Hulk, Captain America, Wolverine, Iron Man, Captain Marvel, the Fantastic Four. They've all been defeated. Even the X-Men. You see a demon dangling Storm over a car. Mephisto is on a throne of skulls. And Spider-Man beats him. He has seen the future where Spider-Man defeats him. So he is doing everything he can to fuck up Spider-Man's life. Because he wants to win. And it turns out the reason he bought the marriage is because that original Vision had Mayday Parker defeat him. She's a character I actually love and have loved since I was a kid. Eventually, maybe I'll review her books too, but that's why he wanted the marriage, to prevent her birth, because she defeated him. But now, that future vision has Peter defeating him. But it also kind of implies that Peter and MJ will end up together, and now will have Mayday. It's very odd. It's very, very odd. And it ends saying that Peter and MJ's love is unbreakable. But then right after the Beyond stuff, which doesn't follow Peter, it follows Ben Reilly. Right after the Beyond stuff, their love is broken. It's like... just let the man have something, you know? Just let him have something. One thing. Just one thing. It's been decades. Just let him be. But we also see this like side story where Peter talks to someone who knew Uncle Ben, someone who used to be an alcoholic, and Uncle Ben helped him get his life straight, and how Uncle Ben was always helping the community, blah, blah, blah. It's actually a really, really nice little story. And then there's like a more fun comic in the back, and another comic called Janine, which leads into Beyond, you know? Well, she wants to be called Janine. It's Elizabeth Tyne, is her legal name. But the Beyond Corporation comes and gets her out of prison. She was in there for murder. And who is it that gets her out? Spider-Man. Ben Reilly. Spider-Man. With a very cool new suit that there is a Marvel Legend of, and I have it, and it's dope. And they swing away together, setting up Beyond, which I've read multiple times and will review. There's also a variant cover gallery in the back, some Sinister Six profiles, which is odd because there's 4 Sinister Six profiles, and yes, they're handbook variants, but it's weird that there's 4 of these handbook variants talking about Sinister Six members and not 6 of them, you know? Anyway, that's it for The Amazing Spider-Man by Nick Spencer, Volume 15, What Cost Victory. Next will be Amazing Spider-Man Beyond, Volume 1, which just continues the numbering of it's still in Amazing Spider-Man. It's the same numbering. It's still the 2018 run. It's 75 through 80 with 78 point BEY for Beyond and some other material. But it's not written by Nick Spencer. That's why this is the end of the Nick Spencer run. And Zeb Wells' run technically starts at Beyond. But Beyond isn't really about Peter. Like, he's in it, but it's about Ben Reilly. So, that is it for the Nick Spencer Spider-Man run. It's a great run up until the end. There's a lot of stuff in the end that's just like, really? You cared more about retconning some old story nobody thinks about than just writing a really good, satisfying ending? You kind of shot yourself in the foot. There's a lot of great stuff in this volume. A lot of the stuff with Mephisto I thought was pretty cool. But all the stuff with, like, the Gwen Norman clone baby hybrids, just... what's the point? Who cares? That's it. Thank you all very much for your support. Remember to rate, comment, and subscribe. Check out all the cool links in the description below. Facebook, Twitter, etc. And I'll see you all next time. Bye for now.